Hey everyone, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Tuesday afternoon, 12:38 p.m. to be exact, here in Ontario. And the king is just wrapping up the formalities of his visit and indeed already back on the way to the airport. Less than 24 hours in town. They spent almost as much time in the air as they did in town in Ottawa. Unbelievable. You know, Prime Minister Carney, this was just an exercise in optics, bringing the king over basically for 24 hours to read the King's speech. There wasn't even a budget. Carney hasn't tabled a budget. He just gave away another bunch of billions to Ukraine, where things are just going to hell here. Parliament hasn't sat in 9 months. Now they're open, thanks to the king, for about 20 days, and then they go on summer break. And all the while, Carney's telling us, oh, we've never been under a threat like this. This is the most urgent of time. But yeah, now we're going to take vacation. And oh yeah, you know what? When Parliament is open, he's decided that it's parliamentary procedure and tradition that the Prime Minister be in the chamber taking questions. It's supposed to be the kind of government where the ministers can question the Prime Minister and ask for, he's decided he's not going to participate in that. He's not going to answer to anybody. Can you imagine the gall of this guy? But here's the thing, okay, he won the election by convincing the dingbats that Trump, who most of them suffer with Trump derangement syndrome anyway, that he's going to, take us over, existential threat. He told us when Trump put on tariffs, he goes, I'm going to tariff him back. Well, come to find out, that was back in April. He campaigned on being tough on Trump. And then we just found out here not too long ago that he actually removed any tariff against the states like back in April. But he didn't tell anybody. He lied to everybody. His whole tactic, of getting elected, well, among some shady shit as well. But what he told the people was, we're not gonna let Trump win. This kind of thing. By Canadian, stupid, beyond stupid. So it's Carney's whimsy to bring the king over for 24 hours to read the speech from the throne that doesn't even include a budget. But we'll bring the king over and make a real point about Canadian sovereignty when he wants to sell out to the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and cozy up to the European Union. But, he's all about Canadian sovereignty. Stupidity. So bring the king over as a symbol. How much did that cost the Canadian taxpayers? Millions. For 24 hours. Sure, some lined the streets and he got some hip hip hoorays and people sang and waved flags, and for a certain part of the population, a king's visit, very good. But, just quickly, We'll get to, after all the hoo-ha and ceremony and all that, get to the King's speech itself. Well, you know that a dingbat wrote the speech when your second sentence in, because this is, the government writes this, second sentence in, Charles makes a land acknowledgement. And the third sentence was truth and reconciliation. Dingbat ideals, white man bad, that whole thing. That we have to pay for the sins of our this kind of shit, right? White guilt, kind of, and he's the king, and so it should really humble him to say those words. It's just stupidity. But yeah, so we had to kind of tolerate through that, and then when he's going through the government's position on this, that, and the other, really not a lot of substance to it, a lot of lefty kind of idealist speak. We're gonna build this and we're gonna do that and we're gonna restructure this, but Charles made sure we got in that, we were gonna be champions for climate change, and all the growth and development and wonderful things that are gonna happen to Canada are gonna also coincide with our keeping up our ideal for, carbon tax and limiting this and the whole green agenda, the whole World Economic Forum agenda. Our Governor General has purple hair. There's no hope for us, And Charles, he's a mother weffer. He's one of the founding members of the World Economic Forum, Mr. Climate Change himself, Mr. Natural Fibers, worried about climate change, flies 7 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is, across an ocean to deliver a speech for the optics of the thing. It's got like a 7 or 8 car motorcade. They're traveling between, just a few blocks. 8-car motorcade to deliver a speech that includes, climate change dogma. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is a spectacle. The king, of course, he's being used by Carney to whip up a sort of national pride. We're Canadian, we're never going to be American, and what does it mean to be a Canadian? Well, the Liberals have been telling us for a decade that to have any pride in actually being a Canadian is bad and we're evil for that. But when it suits them, during the Freedom Convoy, if you flew a flag, they called you a danger. But, so it's what Liberals always do. Say one thing, do another. What else is new? But anyway, yeah. This was indeed Charles's 20th trip to Canada. He and Camilla have been here a few times, but this is his first time as monarch, as sovereign. His mother did 2 trips here. She opened Parliament in 1957 and then again 20 years later in 1977, and there hasn't been a monarch here to open Parliament since then. So, yeah, it's one for the history books, but I wonder, how they're going to characterize it. Are we going to get the real story? They say history's written by the victors. Well, let's hope that that despite the Liberals' best efforts, we can turn this thing around. So I guess we'll see what happens. It's worth watching. I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.